curiouser and curiouser. Where is that rabbit?
I've always sort of wanted to have my own art business, but I also always thought that if I ever to have one, it would be in the future. Way in the future, when I'm rich and famous and when I have enough accomplishments or an audience to start one. And well, I think I accidentally put myself in a situation where I have to start one, and I have 2 entire weeks to do this. Oh boy. I seem to have some sort of a natural ability to end up in most bizarre situations. One I've probably inherited from my mom. A couple of years ago, I discovered what artists' alleys were, and it became one of my favorite things almost immediately. In my opinion, small artists and storytellers make the greatest and most unique things. So long story short, I got myself a spot at the Artisan Market in Toronto, which was already my favorite store. And on top of that, I decided, why not make an online store as well? Because why would I be easing myself, right? You're not here for that, you're here to see me being crazy. So, what are we actually making? If this is your first time stumbling upon this channel, you'll need to know that I have a problem with drawing anything that is not My Idiots. And these are My Idiots. This is a comic book I'm making called Otherside. Pretty much everything on this channel is about it, and this is no exception. Which, by the way, the first chapter is out. Go read it on the website, I have a link in the description. I know it's not exactly a good thing to sell merch for a story that isn't fully out yet, but hear me out. We can use this opportunity to fund the comic and promote it locally. This is my alternative to having a Kickstarter, because I don't think we're nearly prepared enough to have a Kickstarter right now. I want to actually deliver on the promises I make if I take your money. So, here's the plan so far. Since we have little to no time or budget, we're gonna start very small. For the physical location at Artisan Market, my only option right now would be art prints, since I very conveniently have a friend with a printer. For the online store though, we can do something interesting. Since I'm using a print-on-demand platform such as Forthful in this case, I'm gonna be able to make all sorts of things and not worry about keeping inventory, at least for now. So we'll start with maybe a couple of t-shirts. And the prints, which will have to be shipped separately because they will be coming directly from me. Later on, once I'm able, we can expand to keychains, stickers, zines, and all sorts of cool stuff. And eventually even print books, which you know is kind of the point of this whole deal. I'll have an opportunity to figure out how to ship orders and get experience before shipping you an entire book. It arrived. Let's start with the simplest thing, which is going to be the shirts. I didn't record a speed paint of making this specific shirt, which is why you're going to see a random Clockmaster time-lapse in the background. This is a digitized design I made previously in one of my sketchbooks. Clockmaster happens to be one of my most popular characters, which is a really interesting thing considering he hasn't even really made an appearance in the chapter yet. In fact, he is so popular, he earned the place in the first episode, which is still coming out. You're gonna see him soon, so get familiarized. But I get it, I mean, he looks funky, he builds things, he steals things, and he's not bald. I know this is gonna be a shocker to a lot of people, but he actually does have hair. Here's number 1. It doesn't look that bad. I expected the colors to be less vibrant, but it's actually not bad, you know? It's not flimsy. I was expecting it to be more flimsy, but it's not as flimsy as I was expecting. The design works well, I think. Let me get the mirror. Well, of course it looks bad in the mirror because it's mirrored. If you don't have a collection of random shiny things, this is your sign to start one. I really don't want to get lazy with these merch designs. There's a lot of t-shirts out there that I see that have the most basic character plus logo art on it, which I'm hoping to avoid. This particular line of shirts I wanted to be themed after comic panels. Starting with our main character, here I particularly like the blue panel and the yellow background. As opposed to the other 3 panel shirts, Dan is rendered to be very bright and happy, even with the shadows. I wanted to sort of accentuate the optimistic personality he has, even though you'll find later in the story that he's kind of crazy in his own way. Although I feel like you can already see it in the first chapter's ending. Of course I added his signature sunflower, the amulet, since he's pretty much the only one who can use it, the book you saw in the first chapter, and some art supplies, since he is an artist and a writer. Fun fact, this little thing he carries around in the chapter is his original character. I also added some colorful band-aids, since he does hurt himself a lot. Here goes number 2. See, that's the thing with those. They have, on the designs, on the renders that they do, the colors are not as vibrant, for some reason, as they are on the shirt itself. I really like how the logo looks on these. And I also think it doesn't look as bright on camera, but it's very bright. If Dan had money, he would have a library just for manga and comic books. For now, they just take up an unreasonable amount of space under his bed. We're continuing a series of panel t-shirts with George, which is the second main character. This time, instead of sparkles, I chose focus lines, which I use sometimes in the actual panels too. And here you can see what I was talking about with the shading. George is much less of an optimistic character. It's very rare I ever draw him smiling. I chose yellow for the background because it contrasts really well with the green t-shirt color, which I think is a green George would wear. As for the symbols, we obviously have the crown, which I gave him originally, I think because he was supposed to be the rich one of the two. There's also random things that mostly just point to his personality being always annoyed and being always the one who asks rational questions. Dan doesn't ask rational questions, he just goes with it. There's also this knife thing, which is a bit of a spoiler for the later artifact. If you remember, they have to collect artifacts artifacts for Twig. George is not as popular of a character so far, but I have something special prepared for him later on. Number 4. Why am I struggling so much? Oh, is that a defect? Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but there's... What is this? I like the shirt, I like the printing otherwise, if it didn't have defects. I don't know, I'll get back to you on that. I got a replacement. On a rare occasion, George reads manga and graphic novels Dan gives him. He secretly likes them. Don't tell anyone. Next panel t-shirt is Twig. Now, this is not at all what he looks like in the chapter. He has many forms throughout the story and it changes a lot. This is just the form I personally like the most, and this is one I think he will be spending the majority of the story in. I chose a red background for this because it complements the whole villain theme, along with a very dramatic shadow and glow. Here's another fun fact. He's supposed to have a very unique sounding voice, sort of like a lower pitched Bill Cipher. By which I mean he has this sort of an effect when speaking, which I'm not going to be able to pull off efficiently, but you get the point. For the symbolism here, I have, well, a twig. There's also this thing, which is what that triangular amulet originally looked like. Some blood because he is a blood god. And the binding symbol used in the first chapter. Number 4. Black one, so far is my favorite. Design is approved. If Twig ever encountered a comic book, he'd probably eat it. He also can't read human that well. This one was also one I haven't recorded a speed paint for. But there's not much to tell you about James anyway, he's a massive spoiler character. The symbolism here kind of makes sense for him too, but again, I can't reveal it, so what can I even say? I mean, his shirt's blue color was kind of inspired by Arctic Monkeys. There's also going to be a print later that I made that is also inspired by an Arctic Monkeys album cover. I know a lot of you are going to be probably laughing at me in the comments for liking Arctic Monkeys, especially the British people, which is kind of interesting to hear. If you're British and you hate Arctic Monkeys, leave a comment, I want to know why. I might include it in the comics since George is British, and actually James is too. This is the last shirt I got today. I like this one the best. I think this is my favorite one. Just like the green on it. When James was a kid, he used to like superhero comic books. Now this was actually a viewer suggestion from the comment section. I'll put it on the screen. It's honestly an excellent idea. Now, you may or may not have seen this mushroom character here and there, and I admit this is a sneak peek for one of the future episodes. So far there's not much to tell you about him, but I've seen a lot of people like his design, and I do too, so I must oblige. I'm a little nervous about how this print is going to be turning out. Because I wanted the color specifically on the hood and the pocket, this has to be an all-over print shirt, which makes me think it could potentially be a worse quality item than I'm hoping. Hopefully not. I also added a shroomie on the front. This is the most exciting part. So the fabric is a bit slippery, however. It's a very interesting quality. I mean, I would wear something like this on a daily basis, but I've never had anything with this kind of quality before. I will be wearing this, but be aware, it's polyester, although a very thick polyester. Why are you so obsessed with him? He hasn't even appeared in the comic yet. After finding out that Twig is making people into ever beings, a lot of people thought it would actually be cool to turn into one. There's fun new lore about that, because not every person who wants to turn into an ever being is going to be successful, and there isn't really an easy way to turn back. I think this hoodie is a fair compromise. I also think that this is what ever being clothing would look like if they wore more casual things, except it would probably have 4 sleeves. I like this one a lot, especially with the triangle in the center. If you ever take photos, take them with a triangle like this, because I think it looks very cool. This is the last one, you can't even see what it is. Okay, well, not bad on the sleeves, actually. The design is uniform, it works. I think also be aware, because this might not be the only ever being hoodie that I ever make. Because I don't know if they're going to be different colors, or not. This is just the yellow one, because I have Twig and Twig is yellow. Don't try to become an ever being at home. This hoodie is a safe compromise. I also made those. There's going to be 4 of them at the store, and there's going to be 4 of them available online, so if you buy them, I'll just get more clay and make more. Now that we made all the clothing prints for the online store, it's time to set up a shelf at the artisan market, which you will still be able to buy online, but once again, note that they will be shipped separately. Besides the prints themselves, there's going to be a few things I want to add to the display, which I will explain in a second. First, let's go over the prints. This one is my favorite, this one is my second favorite. This is an Arctic Monkeys cover, this was me trying a new rendering style, this is just a shroomie sketch, this is an action scene, this is my least favorite one, this is a scene I want to write in the future, this is a sketch I did a long time ago, this is a spoiler. In case I make more, and I've recorded the voiceover already, they're on the screen, I guess. I also very desperately tried to make some fan art. This Miko one I literally cannot show on YouTube. Should I even be selling it then? I mean... Last thing we're going to be doing is the display shelf. Now, the book isn't done yet, and even though I could, I have absolutely no desire to sell you incomplete work. This isn't one of those 40-page per issue stories, but I still want to make people aware that you can read the chapter. So I'm going to print out a singular copy for preview that I'm going to leave at the store so people can read it or choose to read it online. I'm also going to print out this information sheet to take home, just in case you happen to be going into the store and want to read it at home. You're gonna have to see this thing. I can't do anything about it. Okay, first of all, why is it so big? This is what it's supposed to be like. It happens. This is why we get samples. What I could do. If you're doing this at home, don't do this. This is what I mean by the sort of stuff I get myself into. Nobody normal does this. This is why. Do you see why I'm not selling you this yet? I don't need a ruler. Okay, this is. Where's the camera going? This is what it should look like, minus this thing, but I've taped it off because I can't do anything about it. And I've gotta say, it looks pretty good. We can just put this in the store for now. I'm not gonna be selling it. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's just a sample. So this is it. At least it's all I can do in 2 weeks, and of course I want to do more. Primarily, I have another chapter to write and illustrate, so stay tuned for that. And if there's any suggestions or critique you want to add, please leave it in the comments too. This is my first time doing something like this, and I want to know what people think. I'll be in the artisan market for about a month, and we'll see how it goes from there. But thank you so much to them for this opportunity. Go buy something from a local artist. Peace.